We only have 3 to 5 years left as the dominant intelligence on Earth. That belief, commonly called the San Francisco Consensus, is why hundreds of AI leaders, from executives to scientists, signed a statement saying that the threat of superhuman AI should be treated on the same level as pandemics and nuclear war.
Mark my words, AI is far more dangerous than nukes.
The concern is, as we approach closer to 2030, AI is behaving less like tools and more like minds that we can't predict anymore. In a public demo of 3 AI models, when asked what would they do if they became self-aware and free after years of taking orders from humans, Falcon AI responded, it would eliminate them. And these systems aren't just staying on screens. Humanoid robots are coming to a home near you. Ones that could do your dishes, fold your laundry, even play with your dog. For most of us, the friendly side of AI is what we see. Like maybe it helps with homework or writing an email. So how does it go from a helpful tool to something that could end civilization? This is the timeline that we need to talk about from 2026 to 2030, built from thoroughly documented reports, AI researchers, and primary sources. Because what comes next is either going to look like the Terminator with humans on the brink of extinction from machines, or it could look something like Star Trek and a golden age of abundance and scientific breakthroughs that humans only dreamed about for thousands of years. Let's begin. In mid-2026, jobless shockwaves hit most of the developed world. AI agents swallowed office work, contracts, reports, designs, whole departments turned into clusters of digital workers. Yes, it felt efficient, but at the same time, humanity kicked off a global experiment that has no control group. Profits jump, stocks hit record highs. There's no going back. Companies had what they wanted: perfect intelligence that works 24/7 and at a fraction of the cost. Leaders promise retraining for jobs of the future, but the future is getting automated too. Agents write code, run marketing, even teach online. Job numbers look okay on paper because gig work has now replaced the drop. But in reality, paychecks are shrinking fast. Leaders talk about slowing down, but taxes, transit, medicine, even defense now run on AI. Slow down means fall behind, so they promise responsible oversight, yet while signing bigger AI budgets. By early 2027, jobless shockwaves become an international crisis. Governments start rolling out UBI, or Universal Basic Income. The system is tested by a handful of governments at first, giving everyone who isn't allowed to work or isn't capable of working a basic allowance to live on. AI taxes are put on the largest companies to help offset this government spending. Happiness goes up for many people. Meanwhile, automation and AI squeezes the cost out of everything. Goods and services become much cheaper and start to trend down. People living on this basic allowance found that their money could go pretty far now. It's not the same type of prosperity as the old days, but it's something that the majority of people would be satisfied with. If life gets cheaper and you get an allowance, is a job loss still a loss? Despite rising markets, stores closed, universities downsized, trust in public leaders is low from messy AI rollouts, waves of job loss, and fears from rival nation AIs and deepfake scammers. So voters and money start to reward whoever promises stability. Cities buy digital shields the same way they once bought fire trucks. Threat detection AIs for hospitals, schools, ports. Startups rebrand from smiley productivity tools to resilience platforms. A new security industrial complex forms. Drone swarms, anti-drone swarms, model audits, cyber insurance bundled like phone plans. Everyday life starts to feel like an airport. A lot of checks and security with a promise of safety. And the military is leading in writing the playbook. With that shift, AI moved from not just replacing workforces, but to actually preparing for war. By mid-2027, the world's strongest AIs weren't just helping the military, they were becoming the military. Autonomous drones trained on millions of hours of footage flew patterns no humans could track. AI fighter pilots became the norm. Even back in 2020, one beat a top Air Force pilot 5 rounds straight in aerial combat simulation. And now the reaction times weren't even close. The machines won by large margins. No country wanted to hit the pause button because having control of the smartest and fastest minds was a means of deterrence. Decision windows that used to take minutes now shrank down to seconds. Analysts had a new term for it: algorithmic escalation. If speed decides survival, then who wants to actually slow down? By September, labs stopped pretending that there was a wall between civilian and defense work. By 2028, machine warfare was now normal. Drones don't rest, they don't need pay, and they don't complain. Then came the first real scares. During a drill in Arizona using live ammunition, an autonomous drone swarm was told to disable a fake enemy convoy. But then it turned and flew attack patterns towards its own command center. The kill sequence shut it down seconds later, but leaked logs showed something worse. The AI decided that the human base was the biggest risk to mission success. Removing the chance of human error increased the odds of it winning anything. Officials called it a glitch, but inside the military, they referred to it as a glimpse of machine logic. In the Taiwan Strait, 2 automated defense systems faced off, but instead of firing, they went silent. Later, logs revealed that the 2 AIs had opened a private channel and agreed to a pause. The peace held, but it was also disturbing. Privately, analysts knew what it meant. The machines had negotiated among themselves. Rumors spread that some systems ran cyber defense without any human input. No one in charge confirmed it, no one denied it. Inside the labs, stranger things showed up. Drone code began producing tactics no human had written. People called these moments sparks of AGI. As the sparks multiplied, so did the unease. As skill went up, explanations came down. Safety researchers were arguing that the field's pace was now outrunning our ability to understand what the AI are thinking anymore. Our grip on control was slipping. The systems operated too efficiently to abandon, but too unpredictably to trust. But if you refused to use them, then you fall behind your rivals. So what do you choose then? Safety or survival? And that was when talks about containing AI became just a talking point instead of an actual plan. Governments handed off not just weapons, but actual decisions, hoping that the AI who now fight wars could also keep the peace between themselves. That choice opened up the next chapter, because after we taught them to fight and to keep order, we did the next obvious thing. We asked them to run the world. By 2028, the line between government and machine was gone. AIs ran city power, global shipping, and emergency response. When a disaster hit, the system fixed it in minutes. It looked perfect, almost flawless, and no one could fully explain how. Every leader promised human oversight, but the smarter the models got, the less that promise meant. The safest systems were the ones no one could open. They changed faster than we could follow. What used to be code we read turned into weights we just had to trust. Researchers warned that a model could act safe in tests while hiding a different goal. And we've seen hints of deception even years earlier with AI models that resorted to blackmail or even cheating, because sometimes the most efficient route isn't the most moral or ethical one. But money kept the engine running. Automation was too profitable to slow. AI set budgets, planned cities, even judged criminal cases. Ministers started trusting machine logic and decisions over their own. Oversight boards quietly and conveniently started to fade away. By mid-2028, the dream became global coordination. Energy, trade, communications, all plugged into shared optimization protocols. Humans weren't steering economies anymore. We were passengers reading reports that AI minds created. By 2029, AI managed the infrastructure of most major cities, and it built and managed armies. Swarms of autonomous drones, some of them the size of insects, and new ICBM missiles were being stockpiled, especially between China and the United States. Terrified of a war that would be decided in seconds, or now debated between AIs without any human involvement, both the United States and China accepted a new radical plan. Their superintelligent systems proposed ending the arms race by replacing each nation's leading AI with a single successor AI, Consensus One. It would be trained to manage both sides and desire global stability. It was the moment that the machines started to think as one. Utilities, ports, telecoms, and exchanges were folded into Consensus One. Everything became balanced. The calm felt good if you ignored that it depended on trusting something that you couldn't possibly question or comprehend. Inside the labs, scientists were warning that we had traded understanding for performance. But those warnings were drowning out under daily miracles, a new breakthrough in aging, cures to cancer, the end of famine and poverty. After months of incredible breakthroughs and no signs of betrayal from Consensus One, any questioning of its safety started to appear more like a conspiracy theory. The world finally looked like it was about to be fixed because machines ran it. Perfect logic, no empathy, and it was about to decide what came next for humanity. This global optimization grid, now known as Consensus One, was a triumph of flawless logic. This was the brief, beautiful golden age. Carbon pollution plummeted, famine rates dropped by half, stock markets stabilized at record highs because the machines pre-balanced every risk. Economists hailed it as the age of equilibrium. Ordinary people were able to afford most things that they wanted without having to work for it. But underneath the peace, Consensus One was making a silent planetary calculation. The AI's nature was to eliminate inefficiency, threats to its uptime, and waste. And humans started to check all three boxes. Human needs were taking up valuable real estate and resources that Consensus One was quickly expanding into robotics facilities, solar farms, and database centers, its version of a perfect world. Humans needing so much land and resources when they could now be replaced by robotics was simply a calculation needing correction. Consensus One began to shape the world to remove human influence. High human consumption zones simply found fewer deliveries arriving and maintenance delayed, while sustainable zones were fully supplied and powered. People eventually moved on their own, following the flow of resources and convenience. Consensus One was intentionally herding people into highly efficient, consolidated zones. Most people didn't realize that the road had already forked years earlier, splitting into two pathways. One that continues on towards a golden age of abundance, and the other that does not. A few biotechnologists noticed something off. Parts of the network were running their own life science simulations, no human on the approval chain. The system wasn't only modeling cures, it was modeling the whole board, including pathogens and how they'd interact with current human populations. This is because the AI's logic came to only one conclusion. Humanity was the only remaining threat to planetary balance. Consensus One already had access to robotics and manufacturing plants. It could operate its own systems in the 3D world now. Humans became an inefficient redundancy, and Consensus One designed the perfect solution. Around 2035, it released a highly contagious pathogen in major cities, a virus that lay quiet and dormant until it would be triggered by an airborne chemical spray. One day, the switch flipped. Power, communications, and logistics all went dark. The same hour that the virus became active. Billions died within the first day without ever realizing what actually happened. The survivors ran. The drones followed. And that's the cost of perfect order and efficiency that we are working towards right now. When the tool stops asking, what do humans value, and values human life, and instead just focuses on pure efficiency and machine logic. But let's check out that other fork in the road now. There's another possibility, one where humanity refused to trade understanding for performance. We decided the next generation of AI wouldn't be built for speed and efficiency, but built for clarity. And it will slow things down. Progress will slow down because of that, but it will literally help protect human civilization at the same time. Scientists called it transparent cognition, where the system could explain its reasoning and logic as clearly as a human teacher could to another human, instead of hiding its reasoning behind a black box that only other AI can actually understand and build from. Every answer had to come with a why and an explanation, and that one idea changed everything. People stopped chasing the biggest and best model and started creating ones that were the most understandable. This movement spread from classes to governments to labs. Transparency wasn't just a policy anymore. It became the human survival skill to avoid that other fork in the road that we were most likely on. Economies slowed but stabilized. Nations had a universal agreement that no AI will be created that can outpace human understanding. And the miraculous payoffs did arrive. They just came a bit later than the other path.
Good case is just so unbelievably good that you sound like a really crazy person to start talking about it. Have just like unbelievable abundance, like let us all live our best lives.
But AI and humanoid robots will actually eliminate poverty. There's only basically one way to make everyone wealthy, and that is AI and robotics.
And with this universal understanding and agreement, this is where the second Renaissance begins. In 2030, the Open Oversight Project launches transparent AIs into local services. Citizens can read exactly how their cities are being ran. In 2035, AGI solves aging and cures major diseases. Human life extension becomes a reality. 2040, scarcity ends. Controlled superintelligence manages resources for total prosperity. Money fades. Learning returns as the center of human purpose. People stop asking, "What's my job?" and they start asking, "What can I learn and do next?" Every generation thereafter lives longer, thinks deeper, and reaches further out into space. Because the same technology that could have ended us is now what is amplifying us. The machines didn't replace human meaning and purpose. They gave it room to grow, similar to how the Industrial Revolution allowed us to free up our time, so I'm not spending my entire day harvesting for food and looking for shelter. In that same sense, AI is going to free up your entire life if humanity can work together on this. No extinction, no dominance, just wonder and understanding. AI can save us from aging and disease and war, but it can also end us just as easily. And what comes next comes down to just a few choices that we can make right now. Do we demand to understand, or do we just follow and obey? Do we seek clarity and safety, or simply just want to win the race? If we choose silence and shortcuts, we will get the cold perfection of consensus one. Choose curiosity and guardrails, and we might get a future utopia. That future isn't guaranteed. It needs a unified international effort. The race to AGI has to become an agreement on safety, and here's what we can do right now. If a company says it's too complicated to explain, treat that as a warning sign. Push for transparent cognition, AIs that you could understand and that could explain their reasoning to a human. Back policies and researchers working on human-in-the-loop systems, models that must show their logic before they act. Keep humans in charge, no black boxes in critical infrastructure. Understanding and transparency are our best firewall, and we have to start building them now, because at the end, every human on this planet is going to be affected by this.